They say a dog is a man's best friend, but have you considered that a pet bunny is a MasterChef's adopted former customer? Anyways, you might notice that animals play a role in a lot of fighting games, sometimes a large one as standalone characters, or maybe as a sidekick to the main character. Even in Spirit, animals are incorporated in some way. Look, there's only so much you can do with the human anatomy in terms of designing moves. 9 times out of 10, you could probably link another human fighting game character to like 10 other ones, just through common moves that visually look similar. And to their defense, you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. If it looks good, it looks good. I'm not saying every move is copy and pasted from somewhere else, but I'm sure you can find some similar moves from each moveset. Here, I'll give you an example. You've ever heard of the rich white girl sweep? I know it's a mouthful. It's not like there's a group chat where all these artists decide to make this a rule. It's just another clear way to indicate a low-hitting move that isn't your typical one-leg sweep. It just so happens to be that a lot of rich white girls use it. And as popular as it is with them, white guys use it too. So if you want your fighting game roster to be more unique, what's the easiest way to push past the human design limit and make something cool while still keeping the animation readable and not create man-made horrors beyond our comprehension? Animals. I absolutely love how ArcSys redesigned Jam. I think they did an amazing job. However, I would be lying if I said the bunny did anything of importance on offense. In fact, if you look at the recovery of her moves, he's more of a hindrance than anything. Sometimes she has to catch him while he goes flying, and reserve one of her hands so he can rest. What really makes Jam's moveset unique is not her kidnapped friend, but the mystical spiritual animal behind her special moves. Dragons play a significant role in Chinese culture, often used to symbolize strength, wisdom, and spiritual power. And so Jam, being of Chinese descent and a martial artist with the ability to use ki, she can shape that energy into the form of a dragon by using 3 special moves important to her arsenal. All of these moves can be enhanced using orbs that she can store, giving it more damage and better frame data. You'll know if it's enhanced by the color. The first 2 give her a terrifyingly ambiguous high-low mix-up when used with her command jump, and both these moves are safe on block. The only version that isn't safe is the non-enhanced low. It's -4, not too bad. The last move, the head of the dragon, is a flying kick that covers half the stage and does a scary amount of damage if used properly. Also, the enhanced version insta-wall breaks. Put all 3 moves together and you're dealing with a pretty strong moveset. Also, another thing about Jam is that she has a mobile food stand called Feast of the Dragon, where she sells grilled dragon that she catches herself. I can imagine that being an expensive dish. I know I could probably make this whole video about Guilty Gear. Don't worry, I promise I won't do that this time. But I do have to at least mention Giovanna. I mean, come on. Rei is a Brazilian wolf spirit that at some point possessed Giovanna and gave her super speed. Most of the time she's used as an extension of Gio's body, which makes sense because she's now a part of her, but she seems to have her own physical manifestation as well. In some moves you can see Gio leaning on her for support, as well as her intro animation. Sometimes she'll detach from her entirely if you look at her airborne super. Giovanna also gets a unique meter boost from Rei, where her damage, chip damage, speed, and defense all go up at half tension, and another boost at full. And it's not a small boost either. At 100% tension, she does 20 more damage, her defense raises to the likes of Potemkin, which is like the 3rd highest in the game, and her walk and dash speed increased by 20%. As long as you have full meter, you have all of those benefits. Even after you spend it, it lingers for 3 seconds. It basically incentivizes you to build full meter instead of spending it as soon as you can. I also like that they made the mechanic play into the fact that Rei possesses her and is like the source of her powers, because it looks like she takes over at that point. However, Ken Amada in Persona 4 takes a more realistic approach with his animal companion, by having his dog Koromaru attack alongside him. They're actually sort of an anomaly in this game. Personas are like a manifested entity of the character's personality, and it's supposed to be the main focus of the game. I mean, it's called Persona for a reason. Ken does have one, but doesn't really rely on it as much as the others, making mechanics like Persona Break a non-factor. Persona Break is when you lose all of your cards and a penalty is applied to you. All of your Persona attacks and some special moves and bursts are disabled for 10 seconds, until the gauge fills back up again. But for Ken, you're probably more worried about Koromaru's health bar. This is basically your win condition because, as you probably noticed by now, Ken is a puppet character archetype, and when you don't have a puppet, you're kind of a sitting target. Also, Ken himself doesn't have much health, and his attacks are slow and punishable. But with Koromaru, he can create a buffer between the opponent, making his long normals more devastating. The nice part too is that Ken can heal Koromaru. As long as you have good resource management, you don't have to worry about him dying. The two being independent but reliant on each other gives you a ton of ways to pressure the opponent, especially since you have ways to get Koromaru behind the opponent and attack from off screen. But enough about humans. What about the animal being the main focus? When people think of JoJo's heritage for the future, the first animal character that usually comes to mind for most people is Pet Shop. But everyone already knows how broken he is. He's banned from competitive play for a reason, and you don't need me to tell you the story. I'm more interested in Iggy, a dog who presumably left his owners in New York because he thought he was superior to them. And I guess he is because he somehow has a stand named the Fool, a shape-shifting amalgamation of sand. Without that, Iggy is just a pug. A really small pug that doesn't hit hard and can barely reach anyone. But you do get to low profile almost everything with the fastest movement speed in the game, and get nice mix-ups off of Oki, so it's not too bad. You're probably better off using the stand more often than not though. It's kinda hard to define Iggy's playstyle because it depends on who you're playing against. You can turtle with him and force your opponent to come towards you, especially if they have a hard time dealing with the sandballs, but he can also rush down and set up mix-ups if he needs to. You just have to read the situation. I also like how a lot of the stand's attacks are in the shape of a dog. Since Izzy's the one controlling it, that's what he thinks of when he attacks. Although Iggy and Pet Shop are the only animal stand users in the game, the JoJo series does include 3 other animals that have stands: an orangutan captain, a super smart rat, and a turtle with a stand called Mr. President that doesn't do anything but create a room inside the turtle. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Pet Shop and Iggy are the only important ones lore-wise, so I think that's why they were included unlike the other 3. Also, it wouldn't make sense to include a harmless turtle that can't do much, and trying to animate an orangutan that can fuse into a ship is way too much of an ask for anyone. I don't even know how you would start to animate that, let alone balance that into a fighting game. Like, how would this translate to this? So now that I think about it, they made the right decision. It's just kind of unfortunate that out of the 2 that made it in, one of them can't be used in competition. Now here's the thing. Can you achieve some of these archetypes without animals? Sure. I mean, you can have a puppet character with 2 humans, but sometimes it's not necessarily about the character being an animal, but the fact that a different body structure forces you to think differently about how you would design moves for it, especially when you start to stray further away from human-like animals. Looking at a bird, for example, you might feel more inclined to give it special movement options because of its wings, or when an animal has a tail that becomes yet another limb to attack with. The point is, with animals, you're not immediately drawn to conventional attacks. You have to think outside the box a bit. Even the potential size difference can create some interesting challenges, like with Iggy, for example. The only other way I can think of achieving that same uniqueness in terms of shape and size is with monsters, but then you have no baseline to go off of, because it could literally be anything, and you also run the risk of making hard to read moves. But maybe that's what you're going for. This kind of turned more into a design philosophy thing, and let me tell you right now, I'm not even close to being good at that kind of stuff. The only thing I've ever attempted to design was a Minecraft texture pack. I just think that if I was stuck designing attacks, I might look towards animals for inspiration. But of course, not all animals are created equal. Sometimes you try to experiment and it ends up ruining the balance of your game or not adding roster diversity in any meaningful way. But even if it doesn't work out, I still think it's a good starting point for designing more unique characters, and it can help create something you usually wouldn't think of. Now let me ask you something. If you had to design an animal fighting game character, what animal would you pick and why? Would it be a duo with a human, or maybe just the animal itself? I would probably say an orca just because of my channel art, but I think someone already beat me to the punch. Also, if there are any existing characters you think I should have mentioned in this video, let me know in the comments. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe, check out the second channel, join the Discord, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.